Hello, my name's Bill Marshall, and today we're going to be talking about SQLdbm, which is a way to develop and model databases online. It's a cloud-based solution, and quite frankly, I think the world's moving toward cloud, so it'll be a good experience for you all to use cloud. Uh, Before you can start, you're going to either have to sign in, or if you have already signed in, then uh, if you haven't signed up, you've got to do that. So we're going to click sign up. You're going to fill in your kctcs.edu email address and think up a good password and write it down. I have already done that though, so I can just sign in. And my email is and my password. And I want it to remember me, so I'm going to click that. So the first thing to note is that this is actually a paid system, but they give you one active project at a time to use. There's a 14-day to use a cloud database. We're not going to do that. We're only going to use their one free project. And quite frankly, I think this is going to work. Everything I've tested says it'll work. But if you have any concerns or problems, please contact me and we'll figure out how to make it work. So we want to create a project. We're going to build a database with two tables. It's going to be the state and a student. And we're doing this just to show you how it works. So we create a project and we want it to use MySQL data types. They don't have one for Access, and that's good enough for what we're trying to do. So we want a new project. We want to use the notation. We want crow's foot notation. And we need to give this database model a name. And so we're going to call it And so now that we've given it a name, we need to create tables. And so we come over here to tables and we say create a new. Now, the first thing to notice is that there's a line in the middle. Everything above the line is the primary index, and everything below the line is data fields. So you're going to have key fields above the line and data fields below the line. Well, what do we want to call this? Well, our first table is called state. And now we need to say what the key field is going to call it. We're going to call it state ID. And we know that states have a federal abbreviation that's 2 characters. So we're going to say char for character and 2 to say it's 2 characters long. And now we need to come below the line and we're going to have state name and that's going to be a varchar, which is a variable length character field, and we're going to make it 45. And if you really wanted to spend some time, you could go through all the states and figure out what the longest state name is and then make it that length. But I just picked 45 and it's not a biggie. Now, this field is talking about whether it's null or not null. And we want it to not accept nulls because we want every ID to have a state name. So that finishes that table. We've made our first table. Now, let's make the next one. And let's drag it where it's not over top of it. And the first thing we want to do is say what it's going to be, and its name is going to be student, because it's going to have student data in it. And now we want the key field, and we're going to make that a serial number. Serial is an integer variable type, and it's machine generated. So the first student we put in will be 1, and the next student will be 2, and the machine will keep up for that. And that's a lot easier than you having to write the logic. And then we need the information we're going to keep about a student. And so first name, and a data type. Now, I'm going to leave it not null because we want to know the student's name. We don't want to have somebody we don't know the name of. And again, I can't type. So I just come back here and move my cursor there. And we've got varchar 45 again. But a lot of times people don't have middle names, so we're going to make that allow nulls. And except I don't know how I got in capital letters, but and I want a varchar 45 for that. Now, it's your choice whether you want to let people not have a last name or make them put in a last name. To me, it seems appropriate that you have to have a last name. I'm not sure what you do if you have a student that goes with the name Share, but those are the kinds of things a database designer has to decide. And it's not necessarily, the decisions are art forms, not something like a mathematical rule, but it's something you're going to have to live with. So think through what seem like simple decisions, whether it's null or not null. So then we're going to have and that's going to be a little bit shorter. So we're going to change the 45 to 30. And again, we're going to change it to varchar. And then we need a city. And there's some pretty long city names, so we're going to make that 45 again. And we've said that they didn't. It's all right to not have a second street address, but we do want to have a city. And now we're down to need in the state. If we click here and drag down, it says that every state has many students in the state, which is what we want. If we went from here, it would say that many states have a student, but that's not the case. We want it to be the other way. And where we drop this line shows where the field goes. So we want to put it after the city. Well, I've not had great luck getting it to drop where I wanted it, so we will delete that relationship. And put it there. All right. So that takes some playing with. But the point is that you have many eras here and one era there. So that says every state can have many students, and that's your first one-to-many that you may have seen. So it's rudimentary, but this is our first data modeling, and what I've tried to do is show you how this data modeling tool works. Now, we want to come up here for sure and click Save, because until we do that, it's only in our cache of our browser, and when we reboot our computer, it will be gone. But now if we do that, we've saved it into the cloud. Now, we want to go back to the dashboard, and we can see that we have the student data. Because I want you to be able to share your project with me so that I can review your work, you need to create a project team. And so this is who owns it, but you're going to add a team member, and you're going to add, I want you to add C Marshall 0050 at kctcs.edu. For an example, I'm going to add my private email address. Now, if you were working with somebody and you wanted them to be able to look at it too, you'd put a comma here and put as many as you wanted. And so you'd say add one. And now you don't want to allow me to edit. I just want, the person you're sharing with should just have the ability to view. And so if you come back, we've now completed our first assignment. And it's not that you're going to turn this one in, but it's a set piece that you can try to use to do the same thing to make sure the dashboard's working for you and that SQLdbm is working for you before we get deeper into the class. As always, if you have questions, contact me at cmarshall0050 at kctcs.edu.